I'm 67 years old, and if you had told me 5 years ago that letting my son move into my house temporarily would nearly cost me my home, my life savings, and my freedom, I would have said you were crazy. But that's exactly what happened. And the only reason I still have my house, my retirement accounts, and my dignity today is because when Jason and his wife Brittany moved in claiming they needed just 3 months to get back on their feet, I made one critical decision about 18 months later. I started pretending I was losing my mind. Let me back up. My name is Margaret Chen. I'm a retired pediatrician. I worked for 35 years at the same practice in Portland, Oregon. I delivered over 3,000 babies. I treated everything from ear infections to childhood leukemia. I was good at my job. Really good. By the time I retired in 2017, I had a house in Laurelhurst that was paid off and worth about $850,000. Retirement savings of just over $1 million, and a pension that paid me $6,000 a month. I wasn't wealthy, but I was comfortable, secure. I'd earned every penny of it. I raised my son Jason by myself. His father, my first husband David, died of a heart attack when Jason was only 6 years old. I was 33. I had a mortgage, a kid in elementary school, and medical school debt I was still paying off. I didn't have time to fall apart. I worked double shifts at the hospital before I joined the practice. I worked weekends at urgent care clinics. I worked every holiday I could because holiday pay was time and a half. Jason grew up in exam rooms and hospital break rooms. He did his homework at nurses' stations. He learned to read from medical charts. I thought I was teaching him resilience, work ethic, self-sufficiency, but looking back, maybe I was just never home enough. Maybe he needed more than what I could give while building a career. Because Jason never quite found his footing, he dropped out of Oregon State after 2 years. He worked sales jobs, pharmaceutical sales, medical equipment sales, always chasing commissions, always changing companies. He was 42 years old and had never held a job longer than 3 years. He married Brittany when he was 35. She was 31, worked as a life coach, though I never quite understood what that meant or saw evidence of actual clients. They had 2 kids, Emma and Noah. Good kids, sweet kids. I loved being a grandmother. But Jason and Brittany were always struggling, always behind on rent, always asking to borrow money, always having some emergency. A car broke down, the furnace died. Emma needed braces. I helped when I could. I paid for Emma's braces. I bought them a used car when theirs got repossessed. I told myself I was being a good mother, a good grandmother. I told myself every family goes through hard times. My husband David had been gone for 36 years by 2018. I dated a few times over the decades, but nothing serious. I was too busy with work and raising Jason. By the time I retired at 65, I was alone in my 4-bedroom house in a neighborhood I'd lived in for 30 years. My friends were all still working or had moved to be near their kids in other states. I was lonely. When Jason called in September 2018 saying they'd lost their house, that the landlord was selling and they couldn't find anything affordable, that they just needed a place to stay for 3 months while they got back on their feet, I said yes immediately. How could I not? He was my son. Emma and Noah were my grandchildren. They needed help. I had 4 bedrooms. It made sense. They moved in October 1st, 2018. Jason and Brittany took the master bedroom upstairs. I moved to the smaller bedroom on the main floor. Emma and Noah took the other 2 bedrooms upstairs. Brittany said it made more sense, that I didn't need to climb stairs at my age, that they needed the space as a family. I didn't argue. It was my house. I was being generous. Surely they'd be grateful. 3 months came and went. When I gently asked about their plans, Jason got defensive. Mom, the rental market is impossible right now. Everything's so expensive. We're looking, but we need to save up for first, last, and deposit. You're not kicking us out, are you? Of course I wasn't. They were family, so they stayed through the holidays, then through spring, then through summer. By the time 2019 ended, they'd been there 15 months. But it was fine. They helped with groceries sometimes. Brittany cooked dinner most nights. The kids were good company. It was nice having a full house again after so many years alone. Except it wasn't really my house anymore. Not in any way that mattered. Brittany started redecorating. First, it was just moving furniture around. Then she started throwing things away. My mother's china cabinet. She said it was dated. My collection of medical journals. She said they were taking up too much space. My comfortable old couch. She said it had stains. When I protested, she'd say, "Margaret, you have so much clutter. We're helping you downsize. At your age, you should be simplifying. At my age, like I was ancient, like I was incapable of deciding what to keep in my own home." Jason started asking about my finances. Could he be added to my checking account, just in case something happened to me? Could he be listed on the house title, for estate planning purposes? Could I make him a beneficiary on my retirement accounts, so things would be easier when I passed? When I passed. I was 66 years old and in perfect health. My mother lived to 94. I went to the gym 3 times a week, but the way he talked, you'd think I had one foot in the grave. I said no to all of it. My attorney, Patricia Wu, who'd handled my estate planning when David died and again when I retired, had made it very clear. Never add anyone to accounts or titles unless you're prepared to lose them. Protect your assets. I trusted Patricia. I'd known her for 35 years, so I said no. Jason didn't push, but he got cold. Distant. He'd barely speak to me for days. Brittany would make comments. It's sad when parents don't trust their own children. Emma would ask, "Grandma, why don't you love us?" And I'd feel guilty. Terrible. Like I was the bad guy for wanting to keep control of my own money. Then in March 2020, COVID hit. Everything locked down. Jason and Brittany were both suddenly home all the time. I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't see friends. I couldn't go anywhere. I was trapped in my own house with them 24 hours a day. And that's when things got really bad. Brittany took over everything. She controlled the kitchen. She controlled the TV. She controlled who came over, though no one could come over because of COVID. She started going through my mail before I could see it. She said she was helping, organizing, making sure I didn't miss important bills. But then I started noticing money missing, small amounts at first. $50 here, $100 there from my checking account. When I asked Jason about it, he got angry. "Mom, you're imagining things. You're forgetting. You probably spent it and don't remember, but I wasn't imagining it." I checked my statements. There were charges I didn't make, online purchases, restaurant deliveries, a new laptop. When I confronted them, Brittany said, "Margaret, we've been buying groceries for everyone. We've been paying for things. You owe us." But they weren't paying rent. They weren't paying utilities. They'd been living in my house for 2 years. I called my bank. I found out someone had been writing checks from my account, checks I didn't write. The signatures looked like mine, but they weren't quite right. $500 here, $1,000 there. Over 18 months, they'd taken nearly $85,000. When I showed Jason the evidence, he didn't even deny it. He said, "Mom, we needed it. We have kids. You have plenty. You're not even spending it. What are you saving it for anyway? You're going to die someday and it'll all be ours anyway." That's when I knew. They weren't planning to leave. Ever. They were planning to take everything. And they were planning to wait me out. Or worse. I started paying attention to things I'd been ignoring. Jason had been talking to my neighbors, telling them I was getting confused, forgetful, that I'd left the stove on twice, that I'd forgotten where I was while driving. None of it was true. But he was building a narrative. Brittany had been calling my doctor's offices, asking about my cognitive health, suggesting I might need testing, asking if I'd shown signs of dementia. One day, I overheard Brittany on the phone with someone. She said, "It's going to take too long if we wait for her to die naturally. We need to get her declared incompetent. Then we can get power of attorney and control everything. The house alone is worth almost $1 million, plus her retirement. We're talking about nearly $2 million. We just have to be patient. Keep documenting her confusion." I stood outside the door, frozen. My own son, my own daughter-in-law, planning to steal my life. That night, I couldn't sleep. I thought about going to the police, but what would I say? My son took some money? Families handle that privately. He's spreading rumors about my mental health? That's not illegal. I needed proof. Real proof. Evidence that would hold up in court. So I made a decision. If they wanted me to seem confused, I'd give them confused. I started the next day. Small things at first. I'd ask what day it was. I'd forget where I put my keys and spend 20 minutes looking for them. I'd repeat myself in conversations. I'd call Emma by the wrong name. Jason and Brittany ate it up. They started documenting everything, taking videos of me looking confused, writing down every mistake I made. They started taking me to my doctor appointments with them. They'd tell the doctor I was having memory problems, getting lost, forgetting to eat. My doctor, Dr. Sarah Kim, who'd been my physician for 15 years, would look at me with concern. She'd ask me questions. I'd play dumb, give vague answers, seem uncertain, all while dying inside. But secretly, I was documenting too. I went to Best Buy and bought a small voice recorder. I kept it in my pocket all the time. I recorded everything. Jason and Brittany didn't think I was smart enough to do something like that. Why would they? I was the confused old lady who couldn't remember what day it was. I also set up hidden cameras. Tiny ones I ordered online. I put one in the living room, one in the kitchen, one in the hallway. I caught everything, every conversation they had about me, every plan they made, every time they went through my desk looking for account numbers and passwords. 3 months into my performance, I did something else. I called Patricia Wu from a burner phone I bought. I told her everything. She was horrified. "Margaret, we need to act now." "No," I said. "I need more evidence. I need to show pattern. I need recordings of them admitting what they're doing. I need to catch them in the act." Patricia didn't like it, but she agreed. She referred me to a forensic accountant, a man named Victor Martinez. He went through every bank statement, every credit card, every check. He documented everything. 18 months, $180,000 stolen, forged checks, forged signatures, identity theft. I played my role for 10 more months. By January 2022, I had everything I needed. Hours of recordings, video evidence, financial forensics, medical records showing I was cognitively fine, with documentation that Jason and Brittany had been lying to my doctors. Patricia helped me file a police report. Adult Protective Services got involved. The district attorney's office got involved. But I wanted my confrontation first. I wanted Jason and Brittany to know that I'd outsmarted them, that the confused old lady they'd been patronizing and stealing from had been 10 steps ahead of them the whole time. I planned a family dinner. I told them it was for Emma's 15th birthday, which was coming up. I said I wanted to do something special. Brittany was thrilled. She probably thought I was going to announce I was putting the house in their names. I invited Emma and Noah, of course. I also invited Jason's ex-girlfriend, Michelle, who he'd dated for 6 years before Brittany. She flew in from Sacramento. I invited Patricia Wu. I invited Victor Martinez. I invited Detective Rebecca Santos from the Portland Police. And I invited Dr. Sarah Kim. The night of the dinner, everyone arrived. Jason and Brittany looked confused when they saw all the guests. "Mom, who are all these people? You said this was Emma's birthday dinner." "It is," I said, "but it's also something else." Emma and Noah looked scared. I walked over to them. "I'm sorry you have to see this, sweethearts," I said, "but you need to understand what your parents have been doing." Then I stood at the head of my dining room table in my house and I spoke. "For the last 10 months, I said, I've been pretending to lose my mind. I've been acting confused, forgetful, incompetent. Some of you thought it was real, but it wasn't. I'm perfectly healthy. My mind is perfectly clear. I've been playing a role to document what my son and his wife have been doing to me." Then I turned to Jason and Brittany. "For 3 years, you've been living in my house rent-free. You've taken over my home. You've stolen my mail. You've forged checks totaling $180,000. You've spread lies to my neighbors, my friends, and my doctors, claiming I have dementia. Why? So you could have me declared incompetent and take control of my assets, my house, my retirement, my life." Brittany tried to speak. "That's not true. We were helping you. We were worried about you." I held up my hand. I played a recording. Brittany's voice filled the room. "We just have to be patient. Keep documenting her confusion. Once we get power of attorney, everything's ours." Her face went white. Jason stood up. "Mom, you can't do this. We're family." "Family," I said. "Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't lie. Family doesn't try to destroy someone's life for money." Michelle spoke then. "Jason did the same thing to my parents," she said. "That's why I left him. He moved in with them, convinced them to give him access to their accounts, stole over $50,000. They were too embarrassed to press charges. But I told him if he ever contacted them again, I'd go to the police." Everyone looked at Jason. He looked like he was going to be sick. Detective Santos stepped forward. "Jason Chen, Brittany Chen, you're under arrest for elder abuse, theft, forgery, identity theft, and conspiracy to commit fraud." The next 2 hours were chaos. Jason and Brittany screaming, trying to claim I was crazy, that I'd set them up. Emma and Noah crying. Michelle taking them outside. The police reading Miranda rights. Handcuffs. Police cars. Neighbors watching from their windows. And me, standing in my house, feeling a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness, because I'd won, but I'd lost my son. The criminal case took 8 months. Victor's forensic accounting was airtight. The recordings were damning. The videos showed everything. Jason and Brittany both took plea deals. They didn't want to go to trial. Jason got 4 years in prison for elder abuse, theft, and fraud. Brittany got 3 years for conspiracy and identity theft. Their parole conditions included staying 500 feet away from me and having no access to any of my financial information ever. Emma and Noah went to live with Michelle, who had moved back to Portland. She'd never had kids of her own, and she'd always loved them. I pay for their expenses, their school, their activities, their therapy, because they needed it after everything they witnessed. Michelle and I have an understanding. The kids can see me, but only at her house, never at mine. They need a stable place. They need to heal from what their parents did. I sold my house. Too many bad memories. Too many ghosts. I moved to a senior living community in Lake Oswego, not an assisted living place. A 55-plus active adult community. I have a 2-bedroom condo with a view of the lake. I have 24-hour security. I have neighbors my age who understand. I have peace. I still have most of my retirement savings after recovering about $120,000 of what was stolen. I'm comfortable. I'm safe. And I've become an advocate. I speak at senior centers. I talk to elder law attorneys. I share my story with anyone who will listen. Because what happened to me happens every single day to older people all over this country. Adult children who move in temporarily and never leave. Adult children who steal, who manipulate, who gaslight, who use medical professionals and legal systems to declare their parents incompetent so they can take everything. The statistics are horrifying. Financial exploitation of elders is estimated at $3 billion per year. Most of it is committed by family members. Adult children, mostly. And most of it goes unreported because the victims are too embarrassed, too confused, or too afraid. I was almost one of those statistics. If I hadn't pretended to be confused while gathering evidence, if I hadn't documented everything, if I hadn't had the resources to hire attorneys and accountants, I would have lost everything. So here's what I want you to know. If you're an older person with assets, protect yourself. I don't care if it's your children, your grandchildren, or your spouse. Protect yourself first. Never add anyone to your accounts or property titles unless you're prepared to lose them. Never give anyone power of attorney unless you've had multiple doctors confirm you actually need it. Never let anyone isolate you from your friends, your neighbors, your support system. If someone moves in temporarily, set a hard deadline and stick to it. If someone starts spreading rumors about your mental health, document your competence. Get evaluated by multiple independent doctors. Create a paper trail. And if you suspect someone is stealing from you, don't confront them immediately. Document everything first. Get evidence. Record conversations if your state allows it. Oregon is a one-party consent state, which means I could legally record conversations I was part of. Check your state's laws. Take pictures of checks. Save bank statements. Create a timeline. Then go to the police with everything. Adult Protective Services exists in every state. Elder abuse hotlines exist. Use them. Some people ask me if I regret turning in my own son. If I feel guilty, the answer is no. Jason made his choices. He chose to steal from me. He chose to lie about me. He chose to try to destroy my life for money. Those were his choices. I chose to protect myself. I chose to fight back. I chose to survive. And I chose to make sure he couldn't do this to anyone else. Emma is 18 now. She's in college. She writes me letters. She's angry at her parents. She's in therapy working through it. Noah is 15. He's quieter, more wounded, but he's smart. He's kind. They're both going to be okay. Michelle is raising them well. And they know their grandmother isn't crazy. They know I did what I had to do. Someday, I hope they'll understand why. I'm 67 years old. I spent 35 years building a career. I spent 36 years raising a son alone. I spent 40 years building financial security. And I almost lost it all because I loved my son too much to see what he was becoming. But I didn't lose it. Because when I finally opened my eyes, I fought smart. I fought strategic. I protected myself. And that's the difference between being a victim and being a survivor. When people hear my story, they often say I was brave. But it wasn't bravery. It was survival instinct. It was rage. It was refusal to let thieves win. Jason and Brittany thought I was weak because I was older. They thought I was vulnerable because I was alone. They thought I was an easy target because I loved them. But they were wrong. I wasn't weak. I was a doctor who'd spent 35 years making life and death decisions. I wasn't vulnerable. I was a woman who'd raised a child alone through poverty and grief. I wasn't an easy target. I was a fighter who'd spent a lifetime refusing to give up. And that's what I want every older person to hear. Your age doesn't make you weak. Your kindness doesn't make you a fool. Your love for your family doesn't mean you have to let them destroy you. You have the right to protect what you've built. You have the right to keep what's yours. You have the right to say no, even to your children, especially to your children if they're trying to harm you. Today, I'm sitting in my condo overlooking the lake, drinking coffee, reading the newspaper. I go to yoga 3 times a week. I volunteer at a free clinic. I have dinner with friends. I see Emma and Noah once a month at Michelle's house. I have peace. Jason and Brittany took 3 years of my life. 3 years of stress, fear, and betrayal. But they didn't take my future. They didn't take my security. They didn't take my dignity, because I didn't let them. That's the lesson. You don't have to let them. If you're reading this, if you're hearing this, if someone in your life is making you feel crazy or incompetent or confused, if someone is taking control of your home or your money or your life, you have options. You have rights. You have power. Use it. Document. Record. Get help. Fight back. Because you deserve to live out your years in peace and security. Not in fear and poverty, because someone you loved betrayed you. I still have hard days. Days when I miss the son I thought I had. Days when I wonder if I'd done something different when he was young, if I'd been home more, if I'd been a better mother, maybe he would have been a better man. But then I remember, I was a single mother working 2 jobs. I did the best I could. Jason's choices are his own. I can't own them. I can only own mine. And I chose survival. I chose justice. I chose myself. And I'd make that choice again every single time. So if you take anything from my story, take this. Trust yourself. Protect yourself. Document everything. And never, ever feel guilty for refusing to be someone's victim, even if that someone is your own child. Your life's work is yours. Your home is yours. Your future is yours. Guard them. Fight for them. Because no one else will do it for you. And you deserve to finish your life on your terms, not theirs.